Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to another very exciting episode of Guapish, Rule 34. As always, I'm your host, Nico, and boys, today I'm being joined by the biggest Elestrals fanatic known to man, Tanner.
That's right, I love Elestrals. My favorite is the Tiger one.
That's a good one. I believe he's running a lot of Fire Turbo decks currently. And we're also being joined by a Magic the Gathering Jeweled Lotus investor who he managed to talk down from the ledge, Jackson.
You didn't talk me down, it's over. I'm done, I'm not on this episode, see you guys.
And we also have one of the Pharaoh's concubines himself, Dylan.
This man doesn't know what he's talking about. I would never associate myself with concubines.
And if you haven't figured it out yet, boys, so far, we have a tie when it comes to who we can consider to be the king of games amongst the three of you. You have each won in our little Yu-Gi-Oh challenges that we've done thus far. And so, of course, we need
three already?
Well, you and Jackson tied for one of the episodes, so you each have 1 point at this point. So, we're gonna need to break that tie here today.
Holy smokes, there's no way.
And, of course, you know how this shit works already. I'm going to be showing you guys cards. You're going to be telling me if they're good or not. And, you know, just like, maybe expounding upon it a little. You get the gist of it. So, why leave you waiting here in anticipation? We are going to get started with, of course, another pot card to kick us off. Ooh. We are going with Pot of Prosperity.
Ah, shit.
This is another...
I thought this was going to be like a magic one for some reason.
That would have been so fucking cool. I would have smoked you guys.
Alas, I still know nothing about Magic, so you're stuck with some more Yu-Gi-Oh for now.
I guess I'll have to make my own.
So Pot of Prosperity is a spell card, which reads, banish 3 or 6 of your choice from your extra deck, face down for the rest of this turn. After this card resolves, any damage your opponent takes is halved. Also, excavate cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of cards banished. Add 1 excavated card to your hand, place the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. You can only activate 1 Pot of Prosperity per turn. You cannot draw cards by card effects the turn you activate this card. So, what are our thoughts on this so far? Do you need anything cleared up with what this thing does?
No.
Okay.
I assume that last part of not being able to draw cards by card effects, that only kicks in after this card is played, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then I guess you could clarify, excavate, I'm assuming just means you get to look at the top whatever cards, and then you get to pick one.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I'm just gonna go straight for, this is good. I think banishing shit from your extra deck probably doesn't really matter all that much. Having the damage to your opponent just for that turn probably doesn't matter very much. And so being able to look at the top 3 to 6 cards of your own deck and then just add one of your choice to your hand sounds pretty dang good.
Just to clarify, are you familiar with what the extra deck is?
It has like big monsters in it, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, we looked at some extra deck monsters previously. It's where, like, your Fusion, your Link monsters, Xyz, right, which is a card we're going to look at today. That's where they're all stored. So,
I guess I can ask how many cards are in an extra deck? Extra deck.
You have 15 at maximum.
Yeah, I think this is a fine card. I'm going to say good.
Dylan and Jackson, your thoughts?
I'm going to be contrarian. I think it's dog shit.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why don't you think it's very good?
Because I'm contrarian.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's very good, and I know that we've gone over the fact of, like, drawing cards is very good. Banishing is a little harder to work with sometimes, but also banishing from your extra deck, also given the fact that your extra deck is just smaller in general, having the damage from your opponent, that's kind of whatever, that I feel like that hardly has anything to do with it. But then you have to banish cards from your extra deck just to look at the top cards of your deck to add cards, and then put cards at the bottom of your... I feel like there's just so much more efficient ways to do what this card does, so I'm gonna have to say no.
Alright, those answers are now locked in, and Tanner, congratulations, you got it correct. Yeah, Pot of Prosperity is fucking nuts, okay? There's even talk, some may even say, that it is better than Pot of Greed.
Interesting.
Let me break it down a little bit here for you. So yeah, Pot of Prosperity, you're able to get just one of like the top 6 cards from your deck That's fucking insane, okay? Like, drawing 2 cards, that's fine, that's fantastic, in fact. However, being able to, really specify which card you're looking for, oftentimes having one specific card is much better than just, 2 of any random card. And banishing 6 from your extra deck, that is a very hefty cost for, depending on your deck, the extra deck is very tight. And as a result of that, it can be pretty pricey to just, fucking get rid of all those cards. But, at the same time, it can definitely be worth it, especially if you don't end up drawing your starter in your opening hand. So this is a fantastic card, especially going first, that fucking having the damage to your opponent, it doesn't matter whatsoever. It's not even a downside at that point since you can't even attack. And even then, if you're going second, some decks can still fucking kill your opponent through that half damage. It's freaking nuts. Fantastic card. Congrats, Tanner.
Oh boy.
Been out of this game for too damn long.
Second up here, excuse the low quality of this card. It's an older one. So we are going to be looking at a trap card, Exchange of the Spirit. This card reads, activate only while there are 15 or more cards in your graveyard. Pay 1,000 life points. Both players swap the cards in their graveyard with the cards in their hand. Then both players shuffle their decks.
That says the cards in their deck.
Yeah, sorry, the cards in the deck. Yeah, you swap the graveyard with the deck. Is basically all that's happening here.
Interesting. 15 words. Okay, so what? Both players swap, but both players do it. Okay. Yeah. Ooh. Damn. That's a tough one to call. The 1,000 life points, I think, is a non-factor. That doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I assume recycling your own graveyard isn't a huge factor, but forcing the other player to have to do that is. The major downside, I'm thinking, is being able to only activate it when there are 15 or more cards in your graveyard. Mm-hmm. Do spells after they're played go to the graveyard, or is there a discard pile they go to?
Yeah, they go to the graveyard.
Okay.
Yeah, monsters, spells, traps, they all just go to the graveyard unless stated otherwise.
My thing is, I feel like that 15 or more cards thing, makes it so that this happens too late in the game to really matter, but I'm kind of unsure on that point, but I'm gonna go ahead and say this is a bad card.
Okay. Dylan and Jackson, your thoughts on it?
Jackson, you gonna be a contrarian again?
Dude, I don't know. There's a lot of factors that go into this. It's bullshit. I hate how nuanced this card could be, potentially. Yeah, sure, I'll be a contrarian. I think this card's cracked just because it takes away a lot of the agency from the enemy. Mm-hmm. Especially if it was a late game card, sacrificing or getting out to 15 is pretty late. Doing that pretty late on could be very detrimental to what the enemy might be.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm gonna say it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same vein with Tanner. I feel like the whole 1,000 life points thing doesn't matter. The fact that there are 15 cards in your graveyard, unless you're intentionally doing it to yourself, seems a little late game. But even then, I feel because what's the average deck size for Yu-Gi-Oh deck? It's 45. Is that where you want to keep it?
40. 40 is going to be the minimum. That's where most people are going to have their decks. The maximum is 60.
Right. So maybe there is a benefit. Let me think. Hold on, is there a hidden thing that I want to say this is a late game card, but I feel like that's the wrong way to look at this. I feel like it's, hey, you blew through your deck, you didn't get what you wanted, but you have cards that have access to the graveyard, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna play this card and then swap your deck with your graveyard, even though you'll have a smaller deck in the end, but that could also end up screwing your opponent. And then you can just draw from your graveyard, was probably your intention of putting this card in your deck in the first place. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, this is a good card.
Okay.
One more. Your starting hand is 7, right?
No, you start with 5 cards.
Okay, yeah, this is bad.
All right, everyone's locked in now. No changes to your answers. So, to start off the explanation as to whether this card is good or bad, I would like to prompt a question here for you guys. What do you think happens if you activate this card and your opponent has 0 cards in their graveyard?
Oh,
Nothing.
Shit! I didn't think of that.
They just lose?
Yeah, basically.
How do you... But there's no way.
Yeah, so if you're... It's shockingly not as difficult as you may expect to get 15 cards into your graveyard during your first turn. And so if you do that, and then you just set this card, and you pass turn, go to your opponent, before they're even able to draw, you can just activate this card during their standby phase, and if that happens, they now have no cards in their deck. And so if you try and draw in Yu-Gi-Oh! And you can't do so, you just lose the game.
Oh.
But, like, man, I'm really confused, because, like, I asked you what the starting hand size, because I'm like, okay, at minimum, it will take, 15 minus your hand turns to get 15 in your graveyard, presumably, because you need to draw the cards in order to play them to put them in a graveyard, right?
Yeah, but you'd be shocked how easy it is to actually get cards in your graveyard. Like, you
like
can...
just straight from the deck, you mean,
either just, like, from the deck, or, like, you'll have a card that says, like, send X number of cards to the graveyard, shit like that.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah,
that's
you can
something I didn't think about.
Yeah, you can definitely get to 15 cards within your first turn. And at that point, your opponent's just fucked.
That's not the avenue I obviously was going towards, but
yeah.
I'm glad I kind of caught on to that with my explanation. That's pretty fun.
Gotcha. So this card is cracked.
Yes, this card was banned very quickly.
Jesus.
Yeah, they end up errating it, which, typically I think that giving a card an errata is cringe, but in this instance, I think it was definitely warranted. But, yeah, c'est la vie, I suppose.
Did they just, how did they change it? Did they up it to 20 or something?
They made it so that both players have to have 15 cards in their graveyard.
Yikes, dude.
And so at that point, it's fucking unplayable. You're never activating this shit.
Man.
That's funny.
Yeah. Alright, moving right along. Everyone now has 1 point on the board. Congratulations. Up next here, we're going to be checking out a monster card. We are going to be looking at Victory Dragon. This card cannot be special summoned. To tribute summon this card, you must tribute 3 dragon-type monsters. If this card attacks your opponent directly and reduces their life points to 0, you win the match. Now, just to clarify a little something here. When it says you win the match...
Oh,
that's
right.
That's talking about... in a tournament sort of setting. It's typically best of 3. So if you beat your opponent with this card during the very first game, I should say, you just win the entire match. You don't need to go into game 2 or 3 at all. You just win from there.
Oh, this is such a red herring, dude. I can't.
That's kind of what I'm wondering too.
Potentially, or it could be crazy.
There's not anything it's so. I guess I'll just go ahead and go first. I'll just change up the... It says you have to tribute summon 3 monsters, which isn't anything crazy. It's an 8-star monster. You need to tribute 3 monsters anyway. However, it says 3 dragon-type monsters. That's not too much of an extra deal, though, because you could just make a dragon deck, and then all of your monsters can just be dragon-type monsters, so that's not even a factor. However, if this card attacks your opponent directly... The red herring, obviously, as we all have seen, is you win the match, and we immediately jump to, if we're in a tournament, and I imagine it's out of 3, best out of 3 games wins.
Yeah.
Obviously,
is
we're
that the standard across all tournaments? It's going to be best of 3s.
Yes.
See, but
okay.
that's the red herring part. It's obviously that's the definition of competitive. You just win the match. But, you have to directly attack their life points, and I feel like there's just so many ways to prevent that. Oh, man.
I am gonna call this as a red herring. It has this big flashy effect, but the attack isn't that high, and it has no, innate defenses against getting ganked. And, this is pure speculation on my part. I doubt that, these best of 3 tournament matches where it's actually, both people take a game and then one person wins are very common. I imagine it's 2-0s most of the time. So I'm going to say this is a bad card.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm also, thinking it's, you gotta get 3 monsters on the field, which just requires setup. Plus, like Tanner was saying, there's nothing protecting this monster either. There's not this card can't be targeted by spells or traps, or this monster can't be sent, blah, blah, blah. It's got nothing. It's hey, you get him to 0, you win the match. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say this is a bad card.
Alright. Jackson, your thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's bad. It just seems like a really generic monster card with an effect that I feel like you could probably just get around. Like, can you just fucking, like, if they place down the card, can you just, like, surrender the game? Is that an option? So that it can't activate its effect? I'm not entirely sure how, like, surrender rules work, or, like, forfeits. It seems really fucking goofy.
He's laughing.
Very, like a very meta card.
Yeah, so if you're all saying that it's bad, then I guess I'll go ahead and move on to the answer here. Jackson hit the nail on the head here. You can surrender anytime you want in a duel.
That's awesome. I fucking
Yeah, so
love
someone
that.
does manage to, like, plop this guy down and, like, you know, fucking shattered all of your defenses against it. They popped all your back row. They got rid of all your monsters. It's a clear line of victory for the Victory Dragon. They can just surrender. And he doesn't get his effect off.
That's fucking awesome.
Does that... so, hold on. Does that make him a bad card or a good card?
Yeah, this card's trash.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. It was a very, very vague answer there for a second.
Yeah, so Victory Dragon is part of a series of cards that are used just like as promotional things where if you like win a big tournament or whatever, you get like one of these cool guys where there are a bunch of these cards where it's like, yeah, if you fucking attack your opponents directly with them, you win the duel or whatever the fuck. Victory Dragon's the only one that's actually playable though, because he was like the first one, and after that they all have text on them that says you cannot use this card in a real game.
Damn.
Yeah. But, you know, just in case, he's still on the ban list even though he is trash.
That's insane.
Are there like special no ban list tournaments?
None like official ones, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
These dang people like playing by the rules.
All right, and we are still tied up here, guys. You all got the one correct, so it's still a tied game. Anyone could win here.
Let's go.
Let's see if anyone gets ahead right here with number 4. We are looking at Alchemic Magician. Now, this is going to be an Xyz monster. I believe this is the first time we've looked at one of these bad boys. So, if you're unfamiliar with how this mechanic works, I guess I'll read it first and then go into that. So, this requires 3 level 4 spellcaster type monsters. It reads, this card gains 200 tech for each spell card in your graveyard. Once per turn, during your end phase, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card and send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard. Choose 1 spell card from your deck, then set it in your spell and trap card zone. So, just to elaborate, how Xyz monsters work is when you have 3 cards of the same level, or 2 or 3 cards of the same level, whatever the fuck, you can just like stack them on top of each other, and then you put the Xyz monster on top of it from the extra deck. And then like those cards underneath it, you just like send to the graveyard to activate their effects typically. So how are we feeling about this lady here?
This seems pretty good. Because, like, obviously its ability allows you to... Is there any way to reattach Xyz material? I'm guessing not.
There are, yeah. There are, like, specific spell
convoluted.
cards and stuff like that. They do allow you to do that, but typically that's not something you'll be doing.
Okay, so it allows you essentially to twice, probably just, you know, put a card from your hand put a spell card from your hand into the graveyard, giving it 200 tech, and then I guess you get to search out and then just play. Does setting a spell in the spell and trap card zone mean it's getting played?
No, you're just setting it there, so it's just like chilling there until like your next turn, basically.
Yeah.
Oh.
So there are a few different types of spell cards. There's like normal, continuous, and quick play. Normal and continuous, you have to set, since it's the end phase, you won't be able to activate it until the next turn. Quick plays you can still activate during your opponent's turn, though.
Okay, that does make it a bit tricky to say, because I don't know. When you set it in there, does it have to be set face up?
No, it's set face down.
Okay. So it gives you 2 free searches through your whole deck for whatever spell card you want.
Well, 3. You get 3 materials on this card.
Yeah. 3. But you don't get to play it until the following turn, unless it's a quick play. The thing is, I don't have a great grasp on, like, how effectively you can win a match primarily based off of spell cards. So I'm going to default to irrational thinking and say, lolly, it's good.
There we go. Fantastic. Happy to hear it, dude. Dylan and Jackson, your thoughts?
I think 3 level 4 spellcaster type monsters is an easy price to pay. They're kind of just throwaway whatevers. I think the 200 attack thing for each spell card in your graveyard is probably a bigger deal than most people would think. Especially when you can just build your deck around it anyway, usually. And on top of that, if you're able to just, like, during your end phase, detach the material monster from it, and then, does detaching it put it back on the field, or does it send it to the graveyard?
No, and you detach it, it goes to the graveyard.
Okay. So, and, like, especially if those spellcaster monsters have some kind of, like, spell or trap effect or something that allow you to also do things with spells or traps, or return spells or trap. You know, this just making an entire spell or trap, and then, you can also chain things together, and then you just get to set spell and trap cards for free, and they're ones you get to choose after searching your deck. It's just like, especially if you stack spellcaster monsters together and that have effects that have direct correlation to spell and trap cards, this card seems, you know, this is basically like a free search your deck for spell cards you want kind of thing that would just chain and, like, trigger other monsters you have. So I'm gonna say yes, this card is good.
Great. And Jackson, how about you, dude?
This card, it doesn't really seem like, it just seems kind of whatever. Like, I feel like you'd have to build it to just be like a big sweeper. And it seems like a lot of sacrifice for a kind of like weird card to build. I'm gonna assume it's bad.
Okay. All right. We are now locking in the answers here. Dylan and Tanner said that this card was good. Jackson said it's bad. Jackson is correct. Yeah, this card is not good at all.
Damn.
So, yeah, this card... Spell cards are some of, like, the most powerful cards in the game, just in general. However, when it comes to, like, quick play spells that you would want to be setting, which is the only thing you would want to fucking set with this card, because, like, you know, if you're setting a spell card, there's no way in hell that you're actually going to be getting to the next turn and be able to use that shit at all. Because if you're fucking grabbing something from your deck, your opponent's absolutely going to try and pop that shit and get rid of it. Or just, like, you know, this card's fucking puny and they'll just be able to run over it anyway, so there's no way that you'll actually be able to get to any of the other cards you could search with it. You'll only be using this like a max one time. So at that point, there's just not a lot of use you can really get out of it. Like, yeah, there are good quick play spells, but not really any that would be worth going through all this effort for. Like, 3 level 4 spellcasters is a pretty big ask, especially considering rank 4s are the most common type of Xyz monster, and there are a lot of really fucking good ones that you would much rather make than this chick.
Ah, I see.
So yeah, this chick is not good at all. Bad card, bad card.
Damn.
Bummer.
I thought I had a solid explanation there. Unfortunate.
Alright, and I hope you guys are ready to see some dead people here, because next up we are going to be looking at Sixth Sense.
God damn it, I knew it.
This is a trap card that reads, declare 2 numbers from 1 to 6. Then your opponent rolls a 6-sided die, and if the result is one of the numbers you declared, you draw that many cards. Otherwise, send a number of cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard equal to the result.
Immediate thoughts, it seems dog shit, but let me ponder for a...
Yeah, I don't know.
Dude, do you not like gambling?
This card seems way too much. Yeah, well, like, this card just seems like you're just gambling your chances of anything away. Like, sure, if you get 2 chances out of 6, that's, I can't math right now. What is that? 20%, I guess, roughly. You have a 20% chance. Yeah, 20% chance total.
I'm not going to do the math out loud. I'm going to say this is a really good card.
Why do you say that?
Well, I'm not going to do the math out loud.
Is it just because, like, mathematically you have a decent chance of getting something good?
Well, it's basically you have a 33% chance of getting 5 to 6 cards.
Mm-hmm.
At the risk of a 1/3 chance of sending 1 to 4 cards to the graveyard, but as we've learned previously, sending cards to the graveyard isn't always that big of a deal, so yeah, this card seems absolutely cracked. Oh wait, it's a trap card? Fuck.
Yeah.
But you just get to place it down and then that same turn you can do it?
No, you have to wait until next turn.
God damn it, that fucks everything up.
Yeah, so you place it, then you pass turn. During your opponent's turn, you can activate it if you want to.
Oh, you can activate it on their turn?
Yeah.
So you de facto get to activate it right away before they can do something about it.
Most likely.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna say this is a cracked card.
Okay.
for no particular reason, I am inclined to agree with Tanner.
Yeah.
This is why I didn't want to explain the math, dude. He might have disagreed with me.
I mean, that's fine. I'm going to be completely honest. I nearly had the same thought you did, and then I immediately went back to the fact of, no, because you got to roll dice. It makes it dog shit. And I completely
Isn't gambling like a big component of like Hearthstone?
I don't know, dude. Maybe.
It's impossible
I don't
to say.
think so.
Okay. I feel like they have a lot of like random chance sort of stuff.
There was at the time I was playing, but I can't remember.
Okay. So Jackson, Dylan, thoughts. What are you?
No,
what are you
I think
putting
it's a
down
good card.
as?
That's what I was saying.
Okay.
Yeah, that 33% chance of getting either 5 or 6 cards is really strong, and I don't really know how much of a downside it is to need a discard thing. I mean, probably not. It still seems really fucking strange. Like, this seems like the type of shit that would. Yeah, I'll go ahead and say it's probably good.
Okay.
But I'm probably wrong.
Well, Jackson, much like these other guys, you're not wrong. You're very much so correct. Yeah, this card's fucking broken.
Just like I thought the whole time. Nobody can prove me otherwise.
Yeah, Sixth Sense is insane. This is probably one of the strongest cards ever printed. It got banned like a few weeks after it was printed. Yeah, just the fact that you have like a 33% chance of drawing 5 or 6 cards is absurd. And yeah, like Tanner was also saying, sending cards to graveyard is typically also just kind of beneficial as well. Like, sure, there are definitely cards you don't want in there, but a lot of the times that those cards can also activate their own effects too if they're being sent there, which is not too bad at all. So there are basically no downsides to activating this shit. It's just fucking fire, dude. What else is there to say?
Hell yeah.
Alright, now this next one might be a bit more tricky though. We're going to be looking at our third trap card of today. We're going to be checking out Witch's Strike.
Holy.
Yeah, there's another trap card. This one reads, if your opponent negates the normal or special summon of a monster, or the activation of a card or effect, destroy all cards your opponent controls and in their hand.
This is cracked.
Why do you say that?
I mean, just look at it, dude.
Fair enough, honestly. Dylan and Jackson, how do you feel about it?
I don't. Yeah, it really depends on how rare the chance of the negation is to happen. But the effect of it does sound very strong.
I agree with that, but we've also gone over. Sometimes you don't even need to negate the summon. Sometimes there's just straight up other ways to not let a monster exist or not let the summon happen. Because I have also learned from these that the wording of these cards is very specific, and as long as the card doesn't say negate, you're totally fine. So I think this is another one of those Victory Dragon things where you don't want to get so focused on the destroy all cards that they control and in their hand because they perform such a simple task. Because again, there are ways to just stop summons without negating necessarily. So I guess and it's a trap card as well. So I'm just gonna say no, this is a bad card.
Okay, Jackson, how do you feel about it then?
I'm gonna agree with Dylan because he seems like he knows what he's talking about more. I don't really. I feel like it'd be hard for it to activate potentially.
Okay.
Which could make it awkward.
I'm glad you have such faith in me, Jackson. I appreciate it.
It's a 50-50. I think it sounds kind of strong, but there's the unknown of how easy it is to actually get the effect to work, and I'm gonna go with your knowledge.
Okay.
All right, we are locking in those answers here, boys. Dylan and Jackson, let me ask you a question here. You guys see that it destroys all cards your opponent controls and in their hand, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure you read that part. Well, fortunately, you guys are correct as well, though. Yeah, this card is not very good.
God.
Dude, there's
Jesus,
what the
that
fuck?
scared me for a second.
So, yeah, this is very much so like the stereotypical kind of like noob trap card. Where, yeah, when you read it on its face, this seems fucking crazy. There are a lot of effects in this game that negate and shit like that, okay? However, when exactly would you be using this thing is the problem.
Yeah.
Because, like, on your first turn, you have to set it, okay? You have to wait until the next turn before you can actually do anything with it. And if that's the case, if you're going first, you're never going to really get much use out of this because you're already going to be establishing your board, or if your opponent, like, already negates your shit, just like with some other cards that they have in their hand, well, you can't activate this until your next turn anyway, so, well, oops, oh well. But then if you do get all your stuff out and you're able to set this card, you go into your opponent's next turn. At that point, you would have already established a board with shit that can, like, fucking destroy all their stuff anyway, most likely, that they're going to be summoning. So, like, there isn't a lot they can really do at that point to, like, try and negate any of your shit that you wouldn't already have answers to. However, if you're going second, this card also does fuck all. Because, you know, you'd have to wait until your next turn again in order to actually do anything with it. Yeah. And on top of that, you're dealing with your opponent having a massive board of shit that will be able to negate your stuff anyway. Also, this card can also be negated. So if you do manage to activate it, they can just do something to stop it.
That's also what I was thinking. I just didn't include that in my explanation because I figured that was somewhat self-explanatory.
Yeah. It has seen, like, some play here and there, but typically, yeah, people don't really bother with this card at all.
I genuinely thought when you were like, hey, you see how it says destroy all cards your opponent controls? I thought you were going to say, like, oh, yeah, that includes their deck, too. And I was about to lose my shit.
That'd be fun. Win. Yeah. If your opponent tries to play the game, you win.
I thought the terms were going to be very loose in this card. That's why I was scared.
Alrighty, boys, and with that, we're moving to our final card here. The final one we'll be looking at. We've got another monster, boys. We are going to be checking out Yatagarasu. Yatagarasu is a fiend spirit type monster. It's the first spirit we've seen so far. This card reads, this card cannot be special summoned. This card returns to its owner's hand during the end phase of the turn it is normal summoned, or flipped face up. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, they skip their next draw phase.
Damn, now we gotta know if we have to call his bluff, because this just seems like abject dog shit.
Well, no. No, you can't attack your first turn. Never mind.
Obviously, like, getting them to skip their draw phase is cracked.
Yeah,
Does
but it's
spirit mean that they can... like, it can ignore defenders or some shit?
No, spirit monsters are just like that first line of text, where it's you can't special summon them, and after you summon them, they return to your hand. Yeah.
It's just like, my first thought was, oh, you can play this if it's your first turn, you play this, you attack them outright, but you can't attack on your first turn, because then in that way it would make it insane, because then you attack them without them having defenses. They skip their draw turn, which could be a huge, like, advantage. But, like, it's always cards like this when it says it needs to inflict battle damage to them. But also, there has to be...
So, just to make sure I understand the game, the defending player, they can assign blockers, right?
No. Oh. The attacker decides who they attack.
Oh, but if there's monsters on the field, they have to attack them?
They have to attack monsters, yeah. You cannot attack your opponent directly unless their board is clear of monsters.
Right.
Or if the card says otherwise. Or if your monster has piercing damage, but that's only when your attack points are greater than...
which wouldn't be the case for this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in this one's case, you basically have to be attacking them directly.
I just really need to know what the fuck actually could possibly be on this.
Yeah, that's what I'm, like, thinking is, like, this card is shit on its own, which I feel like the definition of whether this card is competitively viable has to do a lot of what it can do itself, but in some cases it's like, yeah, actually, if you pair it with this other thing, it's actually insane. It's just because I know somewhere out there, somebody, maybe if it exists, devised a strategy that makes it so you can just attack your opponent directly with this card, and they have to consistently skip their draw phase, which would in fact make this card cracked. But, like, the likeliness of that happening, I don't know. I don't know the game well enough to say so.
Have you guys considered that if you activate Witch's Strike and then play this card and attack your opponent directly, there's nothing they can do for the rest of the game? You can just even whittle them down with this card every single turn at that point.
Yeah, I was going to say, it lets you just do, like, chip damage and skip their turn, but I feel like the opportunity to directly attack them isn't going to be often enough, and they probably will have cards to stop it regardless.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is this is like, let's say you don't one phase insta-kill your opponent. The only thing I can imagine is you have like one or two other beefy monsters that are taking down the defending monsters, and then you declare this guy as an attacker last, and then that way, even if your opponent plays what's in his hand, he eventually runs out, and so, like, as long as you're just doing that, he just keeps skipping his draw phase, which you should be dead within 2 to 3 turns. But, like, I think we're blowing skipping the draw phase out of proportion. That's a cracked ability, but I don't think it's cracked as it's made out to be.
So, you can't attack on your first turn, right?
Yeah, on the very first turn, the first player cannot attack. If you're going second, you can attack.
Right. But otherwise, summoning sickness is not a thing.
That's correct, yeah.
So, like, I just don't see how you are almost ever... Well, no, because, like, because, like, you put it out first, and then your opponent just destroys it because they're going second.
Well, how are they going to destroy it, though? It returns to your hand at the end, during your end phase.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Is that regardless of whether or not it's destroyed? I guess it doesn't specify.
It basically can't be destroyed as long as you don't intentionally attack a creature that would beat it.
Well, no, because it just says this card returns to its owner's hand during the end phase. It doesn't say whether or not... It doesn't say from the field. It just says returns to your hand.
It's from the field. If your opponent did have, like, something... like in there, like a trap card where it's like destroy one card your opponent controls, then yeah, it would go to your graveyard. But you know, if you were to attack your opponent with this thing, then you go to your end phase, it just comes back to your hand at that point.
It just seems so improbable you are going to have this thing in a position where it can use the really good effect, so I'm gonna go ahead and say bad.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like the one instance in this card being good is if you can like kind of just trap them in a loop of not letting them do anything, but I feel like the opportunity to get into that is nigh impossible. So it's probably bad.
Alright, now listen, I know I dogged on this card for so long. However, outside of logicking out this card, I've been logicking out my probabilities of winning this contest. And I know that if I agree with Jackson, we all get it right, I still lose. But if I disagree with Jackson, and I'm right, then I tie with him at the very least. So as improbable as it may be for me to say this card is good, I'm going to do it anyway because I basically have nothing to lose at this point. So I'm going to say this card is good for no reason at all.
Dude, he's metagaming. That's banned in this campaign.
That's a fucking little stinker. Stop him.
Let's hear it, Nico.
Alright, so would you guys be shocked to find out that Yugioh here was one of the founding members of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Ban list and is one of the reasons it had to get created.
Let's fucking go!
This card was paired with a couple of other cards, which we won't be looking at today, but one of them was Chaos Emperor Dragon, which will be the one we'll be discussing foremost here. And that card allowed you to just fucking destroy all of the cards in your opponent's hand. So, paired with Yugioh here, you just destroy all their shit, then you just attack with Yugioh. At that point, there's nothing they can do because they can't keep drawing cards. Additionally, there would be times as well where, like, you know, you could just, like, you know, destroy some of your opponent's monsters, then attack with Yugioh, so your opponent can't draw more cards. And at that point, they kind of are just working with what they have in their hand. So if they don't have an out to Yugioh at that point, then they're kind of just fucked. However, that was old Yu-Gi-Oh! And in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Yugioh is shit. This card's bad. Let's go!
There we go.
God damn it,
Chaos
Nico,
Emperor
you
Dragon
motherfucker.
got also eroded, so it no longer just fucking blows up everything like that super easily anyway.
Damn, you got me excited, you motherfucker.
Yeah. And there really aren't any other cards that can easily dispose of your opponent's hand either, so Yugioh really just does not have a place in today's metagame.
Damn, I was really onto something there for a second.
I know what I'm building a deck around the next time I 1v1 one of you guys.
I had like this Sphinx thing that I always play Nico with, and I definitely bent the rules with that, but you know.
You bent the rules with that thing, and it didn't function at all the way that you said it did.
Alas, dude, we didn't know the rules back then, and you never corrected me.
Alas. And with that, boys, that is this Yu-Gi-Oh! Challenge done, and Jackson, congratulations, you are the king of games! You got 6 out of the 7 cards correct. How does it feel, dude?
Jesus.
I feel it was okay, I guess. I thought I was like tied with some.
No, you fucking won, dude.
Oh, none of us were tied. Never mind.
You and Tanner tied.
Wins again. Hey.
Oh, well, okay, that's fair. I didn't get last place.
How many did I get at the end?
You and Dylan got 4 correct.
Well, that's over
Damn, I got
half,
two
I guess.
more than
Oh,
him?
so it wouldn't have
You
mattered
did.
whether or not I agreed or disagreed with Jackson. I still would have lost. Goddamn, I wasn't keeping accurate track.
Yeah, I was really trusting in Dylan's counting there. Apparently not, I guess.
We do a little
I mean,
trolling.
Dylan was correct
Correct.
that if you got it wrong and he got it correct, you guys would have tied.
Oh, damn, maybe I would. Never mind, ignore me.
I'm not paying enough attention.
Neither am I.
So yeah, there you go. This is going to be the last one of these we ever do, unless this video gets 100 views, in which case I will take up the mantle once again and prepare another one of these.
But we're not putting Yu-Gi-Oh in the title.
Yeah, exactly. And with that, boys, I suppose it's about time. How the fuck do I transition from this to Guapish at the movies? Is there anything
Is there
card
anything-
related?
Yeah, I was gonna say card related. Don't they call like segments, like the transition between segments in late night shows, cards?
I say we take our standby phase.
Yeah, we take our standby phase over at Guapish at the movies.
Guapish at the movies. I see the bad moon rising.
Oh, yeah!
We just
Dylan's
start
gonna-
singing random fucking music.
Yeah.
Dylan's gonna leave soon, so I guess he could maybe just give the plot synopsis of What's Eating Gilbert Grape, our Patreon movie this week, the 1993 film What's Eating Gilbert Grape, as requested by Hunter on Patreon. Thank you, appreciate it. Dylan, you want to describe this film?
Sure thing. So What's Eating Gilbert Grape is a story about Gilbert, and he's taking care of his, mentally handicapped little brother, and all that his mom ever wants is him to make it to his 18th birthday. So we follow him around, shenanigans happen, he's having an affair with some, like, insurance dude's wife. This new girl rolls into town. He ends up, like, wanting to impress her, go out with her. He wants to leave because he's sick and tired of being stuck in his family's house. Family stuff happens, family drama happens, everybody makes fun of his mom, until finally, she's like, oh, you've always been my knight in shimmering armor or whatever, and then she fucking dies or something, and instead of, having the town make fun of her after she dies, they burn the house down, and they all go on to live their lives because they're not being held back by their mother anymore, or something.
Fun fact, when Leonardo DiCaprio showed up to the film's premiere, people were shocked he wasn't actually retarded.
Dude, he played
fun.
it so well in this movie, and I was shocked to see fucking Johnny Depp and Leonardo DiCaprio in the same movie. It was quite a sight to behold. Also, that other guy who plays that one guy in Step Brothers, I don't remember his name.
Yeah. Truly a star-studded cast.
Yeah, oddly
As
enough.
always.
I thought this was a very touching movie.
I don't have a ton to say about this movie. I'm usually not a fan of these kinds of movies. It very
What do you
much
mean
makes
by
me,
these kinds of movies?
like things that aren't very plot driven? I guess I'm not really a fan of character driven movies, actually. Like, notoriously Napoleon Dynamite, I just fucking despise.
Yeah.
But I like this movie more. It might just be the setting, I guess. I like our characters. I think it's a much more compelling personal conflict where Gilbert is this guy where he's like, I want to be a good person. I know what I need to do to be a good person, but fuck, this shit sucks. So yeah, despite me typically not being a fan of these sorts of movies, I actually liked this one a decent amount, but not a ton.
Okay.
I also like this movie. I don't think it's super ambitious from like a production standpoint, but it is a character piece, and I think the character piece was very well done. Like literally just in like retrospect for the rest of the movie, when the mom was talking about her husband and how he acted prior to killing himself, and then comparing that to how Gilbert was acting, really recontextualized a lot of the movie. Like honestly, I was kind of under the assumption that he wasn't like doing great mentally, but it really does make you just feel like, yeah, he really was just like on the edge this entire time. I think everything was very well acted. Obviously, Leonardo DiCaprio did a really good job of portraying fucking Arnie as a mentally handicapped kid. The whole situation seems very grounded as well, which I can appreciate a lot. This really does just seem like a slice of what could be somebody's life potentially.
Yeah, especially how getting pussy fixed all his problems.
Right.
He was getting pussy though. He didn't want that shit though. He was
Oh
getting
damn,
like,
you're right.
yeah.
Getting the right pussy. You know what? It is a good lesson.
Yeah, I think a lot of the comedy in this movie actually landed pretty well for me too. It was just an enjoyable romp, I enjoyed this one.
Do you guys think that she drowned her husband?
That's a good one. It is kind of interesting that there was like a plot point, but it didn't really like amount to much unless I'm missing some like metaphorical connection they're trying to draw with that. I'm gonna go ahead and say no. I trust the.
Okay.
Even though
interesting
she's, like,
that you trust a cheater.
Yeah, a cheater that's like abusing a fucking teenager.
Yeah. I just feel really bad for Gilbert and his sisters, you know? Like, this is a fucked up situation that they have to be in. And really, like, for me, the hardest obstacle to really get into this movie for me is the mom. Like, they want me to like her. They want her to be, like, you know, this really sympathetic character. But I just feel nothing about her whatsoever. Well, nothing is the wrong word. I feel anger towards her. I fucking hate her, in fact. Because she's talking to Gilbert. It's like, I don't want to be a burden and stuff. Like, you're not a burden, Mom. But she is just a fucking burden to this family. Like, yeah, it sucks that her husband died. That's tragic. That's awful. But it doesn't excuse her actions of just pushing all of her responsibilities onto her children, okay? Like, even if you're hurting and things are terrible, you're still under the obligation to not make the situation worse.
I don't feel like they're trying to portray her as not a burden, though. I feel like the entire movie is her being a burden, and Gilbert realizes she's a burden. She contributes a lot to the decline of his mental health and how bad his situation is. He realizes that he's not going to be mean about it because he's sympathetic towards, you know, his fucking mom. But I don't feel like they're trying to like paint her as a good person. I do like how they tried to, like, there's like even like the counterpoint of her doing the good thing and try to improve her situation after she kind of connects Gilbert with her father there at the end, and then, you know, tries to walk up the stairs. Unfortunately, she fucking dies, but she was making steps towards improving her situation.
Unfortunately.
You know, that I will say that ending feels weird, like, I don't know, morals wise. It's like, oh, she took the first step towards wanting to get better, and then they immediately kill her. What are we supposed to be walking away from that with?
I don't know. I feel like they were just trying to maybe find a way of kind of freeing Gilbert from his situation. The mom was the one that was kind of keeping everything all together. And with her passing, he was kind of free to just do whatever he wanted by his side because they wanted to do their own thing. And they didn't have to look after her anymore or the house. It wasn't like it's like a big burden. I don't know. I feel like it was relatively natural too. You know, that was the first time she's probably exerted herself in a very long time, and she is incredibly obese. I could understand her heart just straight up stopping because of that. I think it's realistic. It does seem a little forced, but I'm not that opposed to it.
Yeah. I fucking hate this phrase, but this movie kind of seems like it's about generational trauma. Because, you know, obviously the mom got fucked up by the husband killing himself. And because of that, she fucked herself up, which then fucked her kids up. Also, I'm now realizing, like, how much a metaphor the house is. Because the dad, like, built the house in much the same way he built the family. But he didn't know what he was doing when he built the house. And so we have the John C. Reilly character constantly being like, what the fuck was your father doing here? This is not how you build shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you got that little metaphor there and whatnot.
And now the home is breaking because they have a broken home. It's just like Encanto. This film is a masterpiece, actually.
It's just like hey, hold on a sec. Encanto is just what's eating Gilbert Grape, but with Mexicans.
Yeah, it's a modern retelling of this classic.
I thought they're from like Ecuador or something. I don't think they are Mexican.
Who gives a fuck?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're all the same across the border. Let's go. Yeah, I like the scene, especially I like scenes that make me really feel stuff in the moment. I get like emotionally attached and stuff like that. And that scene where he was trying to bathe Arnie and he just couldn't, you know, hold himself back from hitting him. I get that shit. Just gets so overwhelmed with so much stuff building up over time. Especially this is the character that I was constantly talking about. Like, nobody hits him, nobody hurts him. You just can't fucking do that. I don't know. That scene, I definitely, like, my fucking heart sank when he did that. Like my whole body was like, okay, yeah, he really shouldn't have done that. And then him immediately just running away, parking his car at night, and just thinking about stuff. That shit was so fucking real. Honestly, my, like, least favorite part of the movie was kind of just, like, the other girl that he was hitting on. She's kind of weird. I do like how she was the one that kind of made him realize that he's not alone in the struggle to handle Arnie, I guess, when she got him to jump into the water. But I don't know, she was kind of a weird character to me. Their relationship didn't seem supernatural, but maybe that's just because the times are different, and that's just how fucking things work nowadays.
Listen, they were both in the same town. They're relatively the same age. It's a town of
12 people.
Yeah, exactly. 30 people or some shit. That's just how it is.
Yeah. It's a different time. It's a different area of the state, so whatever. But, it all felt very strange. Now it's time to be.
Yeah.
I'm bummed that they didn't say what's eating Gilbert Grape once.
I'm bummed that they didn't say it like 5 times. Well, I guess, boys, we want to move on to the ratings here now.
Sure.
Cool.
Well, Dylan gave this movie a B+. I'm going to be following it up with an A-, slightly better.
And I'm going to be going slightly worse than Dylan at a B-.
F+.
Fuck. I'm in between a B and a B+. I'll be nice. I'll give it a B+.
And that landed at a B+.
Holy shit.
That's some fucking groundbreaking shit. So wait, Nico, you gave it a B-.
Yeah.
Was the mom really the thing that drug it down for you? What else was like?
Yeah, the mom was a major. She was a major detriment to this film for me.
He is just that prejudice against fat people, dude.
Yeah. What would you have given if the mom was like, I guess, portrayed in a way to your liking? How much is she dragging the movie down? Like, is the movie like almost a fucking average C-tier movie because it's like?
What if she was a alcoholic instead of obese?
I mean, yeah, that wouldn't have really changed my perception of her that much. Like, that still very much so feels like it was her making, Like, if she got fucking paralyzed or something, that's very much so a different story. Like, the fact that it's self-induced really drags it down for me a lot. I mean, I don't think I would have given it, like, particularly higher. Like, if the mom did have some sort of disability that was something I could be more sympathetic towards. Because I just don't feel that close to any of these characters particularly, so I like the highest I probably would have given it would be like maybe a B+.
Bro's never been depressed and it shows.
Once we watch Encanto, we're gonna treat the differences between these as the obese factor for Nico.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the fucking loner dude that lives in the walls is
the fatty factor.
Yeah.
What else did we watch?
Nico's pick of the week was the 2024 film, or 2023. I've seen it. It's like either or. I don't fucking know what year
it's because it came out in 2023 at like some film festival or something like that, but then it like actually fucking premiered to the rest of the world in 2024.
Late Night with the Devil. Tell us about it.
Late Night with the Devil follows a 1970s talk show host, Jack Delroy, who decides to air a live broadcast on Halloween night with a series of eerie paranormal guests. As the show unfolds, supernatural occurrences and spiral out of control, turning what was meant to be a thrilling stunt into a terrifying night where reality and horror blur, leading to deadly consequences for the crew and audience alike.
Are you reading a plot description?
Yeah, it sounds like he's reading the fucking IMDb description of it.
No, dude, I'm reading what ChatGPT told me the plot synopsis of it is.
Tell it to fucking tone it down a bit. You sound like a fucking nerd.
Fun fact, so Dr. June in the movie has a degree in parapsychology from Stanford University. That's a real degree that you can actually get from that university.
Damn. They're hacks, It sounds like.
They are hacks.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Bonus fun fact, this film might actually be our very first Australian film as well, as it was made in Australia, and the director and writer are Australian.
I think Hunt for the Wilder Things should count.
Isn't that New Zealand?
I think it should count.
Okay. Also, Wilder Things.
Oh, Wilder People.
There we go.
Yeah, this was a really solid movie, I thought. Very well made. Feels very authentic to the time period and the medium. The effects the effects, both practical and special, are pretty solid. Even the more ambitious one with the girl's head splitting open and whatever, like, you can tell it's fake, but like it doesn't take you out of it too much.
I heard a lot of people complaining about that scene in particular, but for me, I feel like the fact that it is like so far removed from like what we would have like kind of expected to see from this time period makes it feel much more uncanny, if anything, which really leads to the more supernatural elements of that sort of event happening.
I think this is one of the few horror movies we've seen that, like, actually got me to feel scared. Not just like, something jumped out or whatever, but I'm actually like, man, I'm fucking uncomfortable watching this. I don't like this shit at all.
Yeah.
I think a real standout sequence is the skeptic guy doing the hypnosis.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you guys were probably watching the movie, but if you were looking at me, you when that started happening, you went go, like, literally go up to the edge of my seat and go like, what the fuck is happening? And then the way that ties in where he's like, see, I can just fucking hypnotize you to hallucinate this crazy thing.
Yeah.
Was really fucking neat.
I was a big fan of that skeptic guy. I thought the inclusion of him in the film was great. Like, things that are happening are real, but he's this guy who's like seen it all, and he knows all the tricks, so he's able to like rebuff all these things in a way that leaves room to question the validity of like the possession, and you can kind of understand where he's coming from with like him being like, no, this is obviously just mirrors. Okay, I've seen this before. They have a voodoo doll behind the scenes that they're using right now. And just in general, like the build up that this film has and like the tension and everything, it does a really good job just kind of slowly ramping these things up. You don't have like just this immediate this is so scary, ooh, look at all these spooky things happening on the show. You do just like slowly get introduced to them over the course of the film, where again, it does sort of like leave room to be like, well, okay, how much of this is real? Okay, did that guy actually just vomit up his brains in a very terrible looking black tar shit? Who knows? But yeah, then once we get to the Ghost Girl, it's like, okay, shit's getting fucking real now.
Anyways, let's get on to the rankings, boys.
Do you have nothing to say about Jackson?
No, I've got a decent amount to say.
Okay.
As a person that doesn't particularly like late night TV shows, this movie does suffer from the same issue I have a lot with other horror movies, where they just have a long build up to what's actually really happening. Like basically until we get to the point where the guy starts fucking vomiting up blood, which is like maybe like a little past halfway through the movie. Nothing of like real note has particularly happened. It's all just set up.
I feel like that happens like a quarter of the way in. I don't think it's that far.
There's no way it's a quarter. What the fuck else happened for the rest of the 75% of the movie? It was a quarter.
After that, it was just a lot of him like talking to the skeptic and then doing like the possession stuff and all that.
Yeah, I think this movie does a good job with its acting and its just general set design. I think this is a very well-produced movie. I agree with the special effects stuff. I think it's pretty well done for the most part. Some of it is a little goofy, though. Like, the fucking girl when she was possessed, kind of weird to me.
I feel like the girl looked fine. Really, like, the big standout for me was, like, the fucking spewing of the black tar or whatever the fuck. I thought that looked...
That didn't look great either.
Yeah.
But I'm giving it a lot of slack here. I do like the questions the movie draws with the background. You're kind of trying to, like, maybe piece together a little bit of, like, a mystery of what could be happening here or why it's happening. Potentially, maybe even if what you're seeing is real at all, or if it is just like, we are looking at it from the audience perspective for the most part. It is a pretty meta feeling movie. Like, it does kind of just feel like you're watching it rather than like watching a movie, which I appreciate. You could maybe draw the conclusion that we are watching some pre-scripted movie and not actually that. So like it's a movie that's portraying a TV show that's portraying a movie, kind of, which is interesting. I like the concept. I think the cutaway scenes are interesting too for world building purposes. Especially just because it really lets the actors stretch their legs and look a bit more natural and not so stuck up in their role. So yeah, generally I think it's a very well-produced movie. I thought it was engaging for the most part. A little slow start for me personally. But yeah, I like this movie. Tanner, what is the percentage? Give us the timestamp.
Christu does his... So he does have his little mental freak out thing that is a bit of a hint at 20 minutes into the movie, and the vomit is at 30 minutes, so about 1/3.
Okay.
You're pretty much right on the dot at 1/3 into the movie.
Anyways, my complaint is wrong. S+.
Yeah, I get... So, as far as, like, the premise behind the film goes, I do have, like, a bit of a nitpick as far as that's concerned. Like, the way they frame this film is that it's, like, this, like, lost broadcast or whatever the fuck of, like, oh, the spooky things that happened this one night on Halloween or whatever. And, like... So the idea behind it is like stitched together with like some behind the scenes like footage that they had or whatever. And like the behind the scenes footage looks much better than like the actual like broadcast or whatever, which seems strange. I don't know why like their camera technology is that starkly different from one another.
But it's in black and white.
Oh, true. And then like on top of that, we also have like the scenes of where Jack is like having his like flashbacks or whatever, or like, you know, the scene where he's like interacting with like his dead wife, and like there's like the fucking owls who come out of nowhere and they're like, you fucked up, Jack, or whatever, you need to sacrifice more shit. And well, okay, where does that come into play in this thing? Then is this like a dramatic reenactment? Or
I feel like those are just things for the audience, not actually part of like the, you know, the actual this is found footage structure of it. I didn't interpret it that way. I interpreted it as like, you know, the actual taping of the show that we were watching was that, and then everything else was just stuff that we as, you know, like meta viewer are watching. That wasn't stuff that other people are necessarily seeing. They just saw the show. But you guys might disagree with me on that.
I agree that's what they wanted to be the case, but I do agree with Nico that kind of breaks the format that they set up at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
I think
it's more of a nitpick. I think it is something you can get over, but at the same time, it's like, I wish I would have committed to that sort of formula a little bit more.
I think
there wouldn't be a reason for them actually doing it, the behind the scenes thing, though. Like, well, they'd be recording the fucking that shit, the private conversations behind producers and stuff, so it would have lost a lot of context, and I think it would have devalued the movie a lot more than that interpretation would add.
Also true. That's why I'm saying it's more of just a nitpick.
Conversely to Jackson, I actually think it's very well paced. I was curious because, like, you know, it's an hour and a half movie, and they put Christou throwing up like pretty much dead at a half hour, so I went ahead and checked what's happening at the hour mark. And that's when we're just finishing up the girl and June doing their little routine. So it perhaps is formulaic in the sort of pacing, because it's like, oh, you should have, you know, the big exciting event happen at 1/3 and 2/3 through the movie. But I think it makes it really work very well. And I was pretty thoroughly engaged the whole time, even when we were doing like the boring setup stuff.
Yeah, same here.
I like the guy that's trying to fake stuff. I think he's a funny character. I like that you can see him trying to prove shit all the time, even when he's not an actual piece of the plot in the moment. It all feels like a very alive, well-produced.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just in general, we've talked about this before, but I definitely do love films where, like, when the credits roll, the movie still isn't, like, you know, metaphorically done or whatever, because, like, you know, it still leaves things for you to think about after the film has finished up. Which this film absolutely does. It leaves you asking a lot of questions. You know, we definitely had a decent bit of a conversation after the movie ended.
That we did. I forgot everything I said in that conversation.
But I suppose if that's all we have to say about it for now, then, guys, what are we rating this thing?
Dylan rated it an S.
Wow, that's probably a bit higher than I would have gone. I'm going A.
I also gave it an A.
Holy shit, guys, I also gave it an A.
Wow.
Tanner, quit copying us, please, I beg. And that landed at an S, not S+, A+ overall.
Pretty solid.
And Tanner, what did you pick this week?
I picked the 2018 World War II zombies film, Overlord. Overlord, we join our Private Boyce, a soldier in World War II. It is D-Day. He is parachuting in. He and his crew have to go destroy a radio tower. They all get fucked up, and there's only 4 of them left, and then hijinks ensue, and they discover that the radio tower is also a secret Nazi lab creating super Nazi zombies, basically, and they have to destroy it, and they do. The end. There's also French people in it. Fun fact, this movie doesn't have any swastikas in it.
Huh. I don't think I noticed that, but yeah.
I didn't notice that either.
Which is crazy. I feel like that is something I would have noticed, but
yeah.
Yeah, they just did a good job with the outfit design. I guess we never really would have paid attention.
I think they just used the eagle in place of it everywhere you would really expect it.
They did use the eagle. That's exactly what it
A World War II movie where they don't have any swastikas, a black male lead, a cool female character, and they hate on Nazis. Seems a little woke for my liking.
This movie suffers from what I'd like to coin the Cloverfield effect, where it kind of feels like, if you guys remember my Cloverfield review, it felt like everything was very on rails for the most part. It kind of felt like you're sitting in one of those like horror movie booths at like an arcade, and you're like, you know, playing a fucking game and you're watching something, and things just kind of happen all very quickly. It's a very fast-paced movie, which I don't think helps it, and a lot of the setups of some of the situations don't seem super natural to me, and because of that, it kind of just felt like we're just like on a fucking roller coaster going through the motions of stuff for the most part. Not to really knock the film down that much. I think the sound design behind this film is really well done. I think the acting is pretty solid overall. The set is really cool. I like the general idea of it as well. There's a lot of intrigue you can garner just from stuff, and then of course builds upon that to a very flashy conclusion. It was a very entertaining film, but yeah, it definitely has that very unnatural feeling to it for me.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like the premise is concerned, this film was definitely pitched as like World War II, but zombies, and like they really aren't that involved in the film. No. Like this film was definitely like 80% World War II movie, 20% zombies, and I definitely would have liked it if that they cranked up that percentage a lot more. Because as it stands, it's just like pretty normal World War II movie.
Going into it blind, I don't think that's an issue at all.
Okay.
I was going to disagree with the point Jackson was just making until he mentioned the scenarios being contrived, and I just went, oh yeah, I did think that the way Boyce ends up in the lab is like, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
And then he just wanders around like he's some character in a fucking horror game. It's like, oh, what's this? Oh, that's weird, interesting. Oh, what's that? Oh, let me hide for a second and overhear this conversation that gives me exactly what's going on here.
Yeah. So that very specifically, yeah, I agree with you there. I don't think the pacing specifically was an issue for me. I really like this movie, obviously. I think it's a romp. For one thing I want to shout out is that opening sequence I think is fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, that shit was fire, dude.
Yeah, it was very good.
It very much, I imagine the way it went when the director was like pitching how they were going to make that scene is he was like, I want to do basically the paratroopers version of Saving Private Ryan's D-Day scene. Like, I imagine he very much was like, I want to just do a super hardcore, violent rendition, but it's the air portion of, like, the Saving Private Ryan land invasion, you know? But yeah, that's great. Very intense. When he jumps out of the plane and we're the camera here with him and we're tumbling and you're just seeing all this shit going off in the background. I think that's pretty cool. So World War II, but zombies is like an established trope, not just in movies, but fucking video games, books. Like, it's a thing. And I like how this one differs from a lot of that other stuff by trying to play it as straight as possible. Because a lot of times, like World War II, but zombies is very much played for laughs or goofy or like very over the top gory and whatever. And I feel like this doesn't do that. I think to give it a negative, and I think my biggest negative with this movie, it is insanely tropey. Like,
oh yeah,
especially with the characters. Like, every trope you could fucking imagine for a World War II movie is in here. And I understand why they did it, because they're like, oh, listen, we're doing the weird zombie thing, so maybe we should rely on some tropey characters. That way we don't have to set up wholly unique characters while also having a unique scenario for the overall plot. But like Nico mentioned, the zombies don't play into it all that much, so it makes the tropiness of the characters stand out all the more, because for a huge chunk of it is just them in a normal World War II scenario. And so you're like, I've seen all of these characters in Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan, and a billion other World War II movies, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, the zombies only really serve a point to just make their mission have more value. It adds more stakes to it. Like, if the Nazis are allowed to continue with this operation, then shit really would hit the fan. So they have to stop it now. They're not really like, oh yeah, this is like a fucking movie. I guess I'm also going to give it some more knocks here. This is going to be a stupid statement, but I'm going to knock it for some realism parts. They're not being very quiet in this thinly made wooden European house in a village surrounded by a bunch of Nazis. They're making a ton of fucking noise.
Yeah,
Nobody
they like
ever
fire
really comes.
guns and shit throughout the movie, and just no one comes to check that out.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're not very subtle with it. I feel like people very quickly would have came over to investigate things, and they just don't. The whole fucking scene of like two dudes taking out the entire squadron of Nazis that come running at them when they're trying to be a distraction is fucking retarded. They should have been dead on like the very first time they were posted up on that hill, and like 10 times over while they're being chased by an entire fleet. And then of course in that scene too, I guess they just didn't really know how to make the inside scene work with our main character and the ultimate badass going in for the rescue of the kid and to blow up the place, because there's just like nobody else inside the facility. They all just fucking vanish. Presumably, I think the movie's trying to say because they all went out to go chase those two guys, they're gonna abandon the entire fucking facility to go hunt down two guys, except for like one doc that stays behind, and then the fucking guy that injects himself with a bunch of shit. Very stupid. I think they just didn't really know what to do with it, and it shows because it was very dumb. But I will still say this is a very entertaining movie for the most part. It's pretty stupid, but it has good sound design. It's got entertaining characters and an interesting piece of set. So I do think it was an entertaining.
Mm-hmm. I also really like that scene with when they inject their friend who got shot by the German.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a neat scene and very kind of
telling of like the horror of like this experiment.
It has its own horror to it, where you're like, what the fuck is going on? This is our friend. He's still able to talk to us, but he's like, something's off here.
I do question why they weren't a little bit more harsh on the guy doing that to him. That's fucked up to just like randomly inject him with some shit, and then they all just kind of play it off like they just execute the guy after they basically revive him from the dead. Obviously, he's freaking the fuck out, and so it makes sense they'd have to kill him because he's a threat to them then. But like they don't really address it like at all. Like a little unnatural. It's not really that big of a deal, but it felt pretty unnatural.
I can kind of see that. Yeah, I could very much see them like having a conversation about where they come out the other end of the conversation being like, yeah, you know, I can understand why you would think it's worth a try in the moment. And they could walk away understanding why you did it, but yeah, definitely in the heat of the moment, they'd be like, what the fuck was that, dude?
Mm-hmm. I do like the scene of the guy, that they were torturing, breaking out and shooting the guy. I think that was cool. Mm-hmm. I do like that they had the balls to really not play with the lives. They will just fucking kill him off. Also, we haven't really talked about her, the big part of the movie, the fucking French chick that they're helping out. She's kind of, I don't really have a ton to say about her. She's kind of just like a weird character. I think it's a little strange how quickly she is to like accept the aid of these American guys. Like she literally just lets them into their home. Like 10 minutes into knowing them, basically. Obviously, we don't know how long they were in the forest for. But like they're holding her at fucking knife point basically, and they just let her into her home. If they get found out, she's fucking dead. Her entire family's dead. Why would she bring that risk? I don't understand. Like obviously they're fucking threatening her at knife point, but like, there's something she could do at least, fucking call the Nazis on him maybe. Like obviously I'm sure she fucking hates them vitriolically, but like it seems like a lot of risk, and I don't know.
I don't find that all that realistic. She like her village is under Nazi occupation and has been for a while now, and she knows that the Americans would be. Well, I guess I don't know if she has radio broadcasts or whatever, but presumably she'd be aware, okay, American soldiers are here because they're going to fight and, kick out the Nazis.
I feel like with a village that small, they probably would cut all away.
Probably.
I don't feel like that's a super...
But also, I don't think it's... That's why I added, like, it wouldn't be a leap for her to go, these are American soldiers. I guess they're here to fight the Nazis.
Yeah. To give this film another negative here, the jump scares. I hated them. Fuck you, movie, for the jump scares. Like, I feel like those were real missed opportunities to just, like, build some more tension and, like, kind of add to, like, what exactly is going on here? Because, like, the two main portions of this that really stick out in my mind is when he like creeps up to like see what's going on with like the grandma or whatever, the aunt, whatever the fuck she is, and she just like fucking like pops at the door, and then like that's it. We never fucking see her again throughout the rest of the film. When like, you know, we could have had it like, oh, like you just kind of like see her off in the background there, like maybe laying there like all emaciated and like, oh, what the fuck is going on with her? That's weird. And then like the girl pops up and is like, I told you she's sick. And then like also when he's like actually in the base, when he like fucking like looks through a hole to see what's going on with one of them zombies, and it just pops up, and it's like, oh, okay, sure. When like, you know, we could have had it like you just see like this hunched over figure like eating a person, like that would have been much more terrifying, I think.
Yeah, leave it a slight bit vaguer. Like, it would have been much cooler if the headless girl was the first time that we really were like, oh, it's a zombie thing. But I guess this is... I got a question for you guys, since you went into this not knowing it was like a zombie thing.
I mean, I knew.
Okay, then this is a question for Jackson. Did the noises they had the aunt making just completely like give away the plot like way early in the movie?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
I legitimately thought she just had like some respiratory thing that made her not be able to breathe properly. Like, she was definitely making some fucked up loud noises, and I obviously, given you saying going into this blind, I assumed there was something more happening, but I didn't assume it was.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that's good to know. I wasn't sure if, because, you know, I have seen this one already, and so I was listening to the aunt, I was like, man, it seems really fucking obvious it's like some sort of fucked up zombie or monster thing, but that's good to know that that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else to say about this film?
No.
Dylan gave it an S. Bro liked this fucking movie.
He sure did.
He really liked it, even.
This shit went hard from Dylan. I'm not giving it nearly that high. I'm giving it a B+ personally. I still think it was a very entertaining movie. I think it's a romp. I'd watch it again. I think it'd be a fun movie to show to somebody else. It has a lot of issues, but you know, it's a fun, entertaining, rompy horror film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was initially going to give it a B+ as well. Like, we did talk about a lot more problems than I initially thought about when we watched this film, though. I'll still give it a B+.
Nice. And I'm one higher than you guys. I'm going an A-.
And that landed at an A overall. Dylan's S is fucking carrying there.
But that wasn't the only movie we watched this week, now was it? Aside from the two other ones we already discussed.
Yeah, we also watched in theaters the 2024 film Look Back, because I wanted to watch it, and I drug other people to it too. Blake also watched it.
I also wanted to see it.
You wanted to see it, Nico. I don't know if Tanner was particularly interested. Were you interested in watching this movie?
No, I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, fair enough. I think Dylan maybe wanted to see it. Probably like a kind of middling interest, but he wasn't able to see it, so he'll give his review some other time, I guess. This is, of course, a movie about two Japanese chicks that I don't know the name of because I forgot. And
it's Fuji and Moto.
Yeah, Tatsuki Fujimoto, author of Chainsaw Man, of course. This is a one-shot that he made after finishing part 1 of Chainsaw Man about two young artists. We've got one who is drawing comics that she thinks is funny, but her art's not that great. She inspires another artist who's really good at backgrounds to start doing the same thing. They don't ever really meet each other until they're in middle school, and in which case they they finally meet. There's like a touching moment of them realizing who each other are and what drives them, and they start making manga together. They get a bunch of really big hits. They start making some decent money, and then they split up because the background chick wants to study art more deeply, and they go their separate ways until she fucking dies because she gets axed to death in art school. And then there's a little look back of what life could have been if they had chose to not, become friends later on. And then the movie, sets back into reality of that's not what it. This is how reality it ends on a somber note of her, reminiscing and mourning about her lost friend.
Fun fact, the main character's names, Fujino,
I think, yeah.
Fujino and Kiyomoto combined to make the creator's name, Fujimoto.
Wow.
Nico already said that, you hack.
Well...
He did it in a very subtle way, though, so understandable you didn't know.
Yeah.
Are they lesbians?
Potentially alludes to. This is an hour-long movie. The pacing feels quite quick. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, though, because I think it does a lot with its runtime. Let's get some obvious positives out of the way. This is a beautifully animated movie.
Oh, absolutely. It's got a solid score, too.
Yeah, the fucking soundtrack is really good. It was carrying a lot of the emotional scenes for me. But yeah, the character animation itself is fucking super crazy. They all seem incredibly realistic and lifelike. It is a gorgeous movie to watch just from that perspective, even if you don't particularly care about the plot. It's like going to see like fucking Fantasia, like the Disney movie. It's just some nice shit to look at, And of course, they also have a plot, which I don't think this movie particularly connected with any of us, what the message is trying to say about, like what drives you to keep going potentially. Why do you do what you do? And in a sense, it's why you love art and why you continue to draw. They asked the question of, like why each character was doing that, what was keeping them going. And in the case of the chick that died, it was because she wanted to be with Fujino. I remembered her fucking name. It came to me. Brain blast. It's Fujino. Yeah, she wanted to connect with her. She wanted to be with her friend, and then they split ways because she realized that she was kind of maybe holding her back. There's some deep subtleties that go into it. I don't think any of us particularly connected with it. I was on Twitter after we watched this movie, as I normally am, and people were praising the fuck out of this movie, and I definitely resonate with what they're saying, and it definitely kind of brought it into a new light for me. What do you guys think about it? I'm done yapping.
Dude, here's a question for you, Jackson, and also Tanner, I suppose, if he wants to answer it. Does the alternate timeline that we see beg the question that, fucking Moto's life would have been better had Fujino never come into it?
I mean, I guess it definitely seems that way, but then the little montage they do afterwards, I think, is trying to paint the picture of, like, she is alive, but they're not connected, and she's maybe not happy necessarily in what she's doing. Like, did they show a lot of the joy and love that she was feeling when hanging out with Fujino? And we don't really see a whole lot of that. She's just kind of going through the motions of her life. Obviously, she's not dead. That's a big plus. But the whole reason that she got out of her cave and even got to start doing the things that she loved was because she was interacting with Fujino and came to connect with her. So I think it's just asking a question of the audience. Maybe even like the city mouse versus country mouse thing, where like, is life better if you're, going out of your comfort zone and, risking things over, staying indoors all night and just being safe and comfortable. And in this case, I guess it's up to the audience, but I think for whatever her name is, Dead Girl, it was that she probably preferred life with Fujino and the.
But, like, her big thing was that, like, she wanted to, go to the college so she can get out there and, like, start doing things herself. But we still see her do that in the alternate timeline. She's still there.
I mean, she went to college. You wouldn't see her really, like, interacting with it.
I feel like we didn't really see enough to really.
You could imply that maybe she probably still is, just because what her initial goal was otherwise. But I don't see any evidence to the contrary. I feel like the point of the look back scene itself is because we see that comic come back. I feel like the comic is coming from Dead Girl Moto, and the point of it is to like inspire Fujino to keep going. I feel like that is her sending back that she is, fine with her lot, and that, she's okay with the ending that she got, and because, trying to inspire Fujino to keep going in the same way that Fujino got her to come out and enjoy life.
Hold on a second.
What's up, Tanner?
So the main theme of Chainsaw Man is called Kickback, and the manga they make in this movie is Shark Kick. And we watched Shark Tale 2 weeks ago. And A Knight's Tale is a movie. Wait. I thought it was a cute little film. I don't really have any thoughts beyond that.
Speaking of Shark Kick, though, that's just one of many little Easter eggs that this film has for all of us Fuji heads out there, Shark Kick, obviously a play on Fire Punch, which was the one that I started with, that Jackson initially recommended to me. But also, like, all the covers are very reminiscent of Chainsaw Man, which is pretty sweet. When they're, like, in the movie theater, it looks like, from what I'm assuming, was a scene from, like, Goodbye Airy, potentially, Maybe we'll get a film of that at some point. That would be pretty cool. And then, like, a lot of the illustrations and stuff that we see throughout the film also, I'm pretty sure that those are just directly taken from his various manga. Do you know if that's the case, Jackson?
I've literally only read Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man. I'm a fake Fujimoto fan.
Okay.
Dude, I didn't even know that Fire Punch thing. That's crazy.
Fire Punch is fucking badass. You read that shit, dude.
It's neat.
It's about a guy that's on fire, but he's immortal, so he can't die, so he's constantly burning him. It's badass.
Dude, buy him for me and I'll read them.
Dude, you can literally pirate that shit. I'll hit up.
But outside of that, I don't know. I didn't have too much else to really say about the film. I thought it was cute as well. It was a very cute little film.
Same, yeah. Like I alluded to, this movie didn't really hit me very emotionally.
Yeah.
I could understand why it'd be a very emotionally charged movie. Like for somebody that is in the perspective of an artiste, I could see this movie connecting with them a lot more. It didn't particularly hit that line with me. But just like seeing the struggle of them, I think the characterization too, I didn't really talk about that either, but the characterization of her is really good as well, Yugioh. She's a very defined person. I think she acts within her boundaries of a character very well for the most part. I think just generally the writing of this movie is very strong from an artistic perspective as well. And I will be giving it an A. I wish I could give it higher, honestly. But yeah, I really just didn't connect with it like that. But it is a very strong movie just for like an artistic perspective.
Man, I wish I could give it higher. I'm giving it like an A- though. Because, yeah, just like you, I didn't. Even as an artist, I just didn't connect with it quite as much as I would have liked to.
I gave it a B+.
We're like a cute little line.
Yeah.
Isn't that fun? And that landed at an A-, unsurprisingly.
You didn't say what Dylan gave it.
Because he didn't fucking watch the movie, goddammit.
Oh, yeah. Oops.
He'd probably give it like an S+.
Yeah, more than likely. It's an animated film that tries to make you feel things.
I wish it made me feel things. This movie was so insanely hyped up. People are talking about this like as the second coming of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this shit
itself.
has like a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes currently, I think.
Yeah, it's like a little bit less than a 9 out of 10 on my AMA list, which I think is a lot more reasonable.
Yeah.
I do think it's a really good movie. I'd like to watch it again at some point, maybe after a bit more pondering. Like, I have pondered quite a bit on this movie already, and I think I maybe would like it the second time over. And it's a really fast movie, so it's not like it'd be wasting that much time. It's like not even.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad we watched it. The crowd of this movie was fucking hilarious. It was just like exactly like my anime club I went to in not high school, in college for like 2 days until I quit because it was awkward as fuck.
Yeah, 90% dudes and just like the girls that they somehow managed to convince to come with them.
Except for those, was it two girls that tried sitting in the seat that you had Blake sit in?
Yeah.
I can't remember. That was funny as fuck too. It was like these two girls. So we booked 4 or 5 seats, and because Dylan didn't show up, we had like an extra spot that I had refunded, and we kind of just assumed nobody would have purchased that seat. So Nico was like, "Yeah, Blake, sit in that chair." So we did, and then we had like Blake in a gap between him and Tanner or something, and these two people come over, and they're just like insanely awkward. Like they don't know what to fucking say. They can't come up with like a sentence of like, "Hey, you're sitting in our seat," so I just have to fucking mediate it. It was like the most anime crowd or anime watcher crowd of all time.
Yeah. I personally did not perceive it as being like overwhelmingly male. In fact, I feel like I noticed more women in there than anything.
I did notice a lot of women. I also don't agree with Nico's analysis of that. I think there was.
I was just trying to
good
paint
mix.
a picture, It was a soliloquy, It wasn't based on reality at all.
The real question is how many troons were in there.
There also was like a director's talk or something at the end of it. I can't remember exactly what it was. We didn't see that shit because we didn't fucking care. We were like the only people in the theater that didn't watch that shit too. So we're just fucking walking out.
No,
like
I saw one other
theater.
hero stand up and leave before us.
Fucking go. That theater was packed, by the way.
It was.
That movie was fucking popping off.
Yeah, which, by the way, it has a 100% currently critic score and 98% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Imagine being a critic and being a hater of this movie, dude. That's just hating art itself, man.
Right.
It's a risky deal.
By the way, did you guys cry at all? Did this movie bring you to tears?
No.
I get really easily emotionally manipulated.
Yeah.
I'm very easy to cry. I definitely got a little teary-eyed during like a couple of scenes, but yeah, I never actually like cried.
Yeah, I definitely heard quite a few people in the audience crying alongside us.
I actually didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I wasn't super cognizant of the crowd after we were walking.
Gotcha.
I kept smelling like these fucking potatoes or some shit that the person next to me was eating.
I was gonna do a bit where I was gonna say, I'll just tell you guys a quick summary of what the director's thing was, and then start saying random Japanese words, but I can't. Why does searching random Japanese words not just pop up something for me to say,
It just pops up a bunch of like katakana and shit. You can't read it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's bullshit. That would have been such a funny bit. But anyway.
Anyways, this meta talk about the movie's gone long enough. Cut, I say.
Speaking of movies.
Yeah.
Dylan, this week is picking Deep Blue Sea, the 1999 film. He even got us the year. Let's fucking go. Love that guy.
Dude, deeper, bluer. His head is like a shark's fin.
I fucking... God damn it, you took my line.
Okay, you guys, I'm going to give you an option here. This is going to be like some Tanner shit, right?
Pick the horror movie.
They're both horror movies. Retard. I'm, of course, sticking to the theme. I'm not some kind of troglodyte. But we can either watch a sequel to a horror movie we've already seen, or just like a newer independent movie.
I'm assuming the sequel is going to be Waxwork 2, which would be very fun.
I'm hoping it's Terrifier 2. I say pick the sequel.
I say pick the other one.
Well, we're flipping a coin, boys. Let me fucking Google coin flip really quick.
Dibs on heads.
Okay, I'll take tail.
Alrighty.
I'm always chasing it.
And it landed on tails. Unfortunately, we're not watching Waxworks 2. Nico, you guessed it right.
Damn.
We are, in fact, watching the 2015 film The Visit.
Okay.
What the fuck is that a sequel to?
You wanted to watch the independent one, right? Nico wanted to watch the sequel.
Yeah, but I was Tails.
Yeah.
Correct, which means the independent one, not the sequel.
What? Why?
Am I confused?
I wanted the sequel and I picked Tails and it landed on Tails. What?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys both wanted a sequel?
No.
No, Nico wanted the independent. I wanted the sequel.
And I picked heads.
Oh,
And I picked Tails.
I thought fucking Nico wanted to watch the sequel because you literally said, yeah, I assume it's going to be
Okay, so it's
2.
I get
We're
up to
watching
you,
Waxwork
but
2. We're watching Waxwork 2 then, yeah. I thought I got to fucking twist around. I thought Nico was sequel because you wanted to watch Waxwork 2, and I thought you were independent.
No.
Oh, wait, no, yeah, no, I'm putting the pieces together now. I remember you said you picked sequel because you thought it'd be Terrifier 2.
It's all
True.
coming together.
Yeah, no, I fucking,
What
my
did
brain
you said
hurt.
2005?
2015 is The Visit. Waxwork 2 was like 1998.
Oh, okay. I can't wait. It's gonna be.
It's gonna be terrible.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, okay, it's 1992. Waxwork is 19.
Are
Speaking of-
Rare so bad it's good film that I think all of us agreed on though?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that movie's fucking hilarious.
Speaking of terrible films, though, you want to roll that Patreon?
Oh yeah, this week we are of course watching the 2011 film Rango, another horror classic,
There we go.
as requested by Tutbot on Patreon. Thank you for
Finally,
your request.
Tutbot gets a pick. Holy shit, it's been too long, our friend.
Our friend.
Is he not a friend of the channel?
Yes, of course he is.
Fuck that guy.
And if you too would like to buy our friendship as well as request a film, then Tanner's going to tell you all about how you can do that.
That's right. If you head on over to patreon.com/Guapish, you can subscribe for only $1 a month, which gives you early access to every episode, as well as exclusive access to our pre-Guap show. You also get access to our Discord server where you can, talk to us. You can send in movie requests like Tutbot did. You can send in topic requests even, and we'll talk about it. And you also get 500 slime coin. And finally, you get your name read out at the end of every episode, just like I'm doing right now. Thank you very much to GH, Slade by J, Blake, Netta Gant, Dumb Gay Retard, Top Ramen Man, Joshua Bean, Crazy Taxi, Tutbot, Lucas Ledette, Hunter, and Jacob Edwards. Thank you very much.
That's right. Thank you very much, folks. And as always, don't get scared out there. It's a scary time of the year.
You should have left it at, why'd you add a second line?
Bye-bye.
Bye.